cartoons and stuff. Me on Saturday mornings, I wanted to watch wrestling because they were like real life cartoon people. They were like, superheroes against the villains,
Yeah, that's true.
and
What is up, guys? Diego Prime here, back again with another video, and I'm back with another interview segment for my YouTube channel. And today, joining me is an ECW legend, and he is now a coach and a teacher in the Philippine wrestling scene. And also, he is the host of the Chilly Willy podcast. So, without further ado, guys, please welcome my guest today, Chilly Willy. Chilly
oh,
Willy,
thank
what's
you,
good, bro?
Diego. Thank you. What's up, brother? Thank you. Thank you
Thank you.
very much. Yes,
So,
sir. Yes, sir. I'm glad to be
so
on.
Chili Willy, before anything else, how should we call you during this interview? Will it be William? Will it be Chili Willy? So how do you want it?
No, chili is fine. Definitely.
So Chili. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
So Chili. Okay. So Chili, I guess we'll get. So let's get things started. Chili, first question. I usually ask to my guests this question. How are you? How are you during this time of the pandemic?
Oh, pretty good, man. Like everyone else, just stuck in limbo. It's been almost 2 years or a year and a half or something like that since we had this stuff. So I just been home. I was doing a podcast. Actually, I had two podcasts going: the Chili Willy
Okay.
podcast, and then I had with my friend, I call him Little Jim Ross, Andrew Campbell for AC
I see.
podcast out of America. So, but I had to stop for a little bit. Just recently, I just stopped because of my
Oh,
eyes. So yeah, but the pandemic is it's sad that things have happened and people have lost their jobs and
yeah.
lost a lot of income and all that good stuff. But
Mm,
so far for me, it's been pretty good. It's I'm just hanging in here, man. I'm enjoying the Philippines still, regardless.
that's
The
good.
weather's nice. The people are friendly. The food is good. So, yeah, we got a pandemic. We got to do the
Mm,
vaccine good stuff. But hey, it's all good. You just keep pushing forward. You know what I mean? I look at it like this: the world is going to have to live with the pandemic, with the coronavirus. That's how I look at it. So you know, it is what it is. You know what I mean? We got to
yeah.
live with it, and you just keep pushing. Keep pushing. You don't let it stop you from doing what you want to do. To all your listeners out there, and and people who aspire to do not just wrestling but anything. You know what I mean? Don't let
Yeah.
anything stop you from achieving your goals, man. Just hunker down. Tighten up your bootstrap and push forward. You know what I mean? Shit's gonna happen. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know if you can curse on this, but things gonna happen. Things are gonna happen, and you just got to, you can't let it mentally mess you up. You just got to keep
Yeah.
going because that's what life is designed to do, man. Is mentally mess with you. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
if you don't have that mental capacity to just stay strong, you're not gonna achieve anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's okay. I look at it as a reset button. This pandemic is like a reset. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we all have to just deal with it and try new things.
Glad to hear that. Even though COVID just ruined everything, that's good to hear that you're never giving up and discovering new things. So, let's talk about your beginnings. So, when did you start being a fan of wrestling?
Oh man, since I was a little kid, 8 years old, 7 years old, watching TV, watching WWF at the time,
Yeah.
NWA, the old Ric Flair, Wahoo McDaniels, Dusty Rhodes,
Oh,
Bob Backlund, Jimmy Snuka, all
yeah.
of them. You know what I mean? And so that's how I started, into wrestling. And to me, it was a lot of my friends and my family, cousins and stuff. They would watch like cartoons and stuff. me on Saturday mornings, I wanted to watch wrestling because they were like real life cartoon people. They were like, you know, superheroes against the villains,
Yeah, that's
you
true.
know, and so it was like, you know, the face against the heel, you know,
Yeah.
and that's what interested me, you know, was pro wrestling. Not, you know, I like boxing, I like football and everything like that, but it
Oh,
was just something about it was something about wrestling, man. I was just like, I wish I could do that. You know what I mean? What
yeah,
is it? It was just, it looked so, you know, like in boxing, you know, it's like 1, 2, you know, boom, boom, boom. You down for the count, 10 count. But wrestling, you had to pin a person down.
yeah,
You had to hold them down, or, you know, you threw them out the ring, and you know these guys come out so big, muscular. You know, he's like, yo, you know, and you know they hit someone, and it was just like unbelievable. Like I said, it's like superhero stuff. So
yeah.
that's what that's what got me into wrestling.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, watching our idols in wrestling, like we consider them as our heroes. So I agree with that. So,
Yeah.
what made you realize that you want to be in the wrestling industry?
Um. Well, like I said, when I saw it, it was like it was something I wanted to do because I was a small kid, you know, growing up skinny. You know, used to get picked on by my cousins, you know, get
Yeah,
bullied. And so back then, you know, I'm talking 70s, man, 1970s, 80s, you know, or late 70s, you know, early
okay.
80s. The bullying stuff back then was like, you know, we didn't have no support group to, you know, we couldn't go online, we couldn't tell no one. You had to fight your way out. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? There was no such thing as okay, I'm gonna get bullied and then I'm just gonna go in my room and cry and hell no. My mom, my dad, you know, they'd be like, you know, you better get out there, you better fight, whether you get your butt kicked or whatever, you know, and the only way when I was a kid growing up to overcome that was to actually physically fight your bully because
yeah,
if you fight a bully, if you're going to school every day and someone's taking your lunch money, you know, or they trying to punk you for whatever, eventually if you make it, you put it in your mind that you're gonna fight this guy every day I'm gonna fight you. I don't care if I get my ass kicked every day. Eventually he's gonna get tired of you, or she's gonna get tired of you. And she's gonna realize, man, okay, here come William. I don't want to fight him no more. That was last week. I took his lunch money. Now he wants to. Now he's become the bully. So it was like that, you know, and so I just kind of grew up, you know, like that kind of, you know, just fighting for some things, and I didn't grow up in a bad home or anything like that. It was just you had to stand up for the things that you want, and you don't want to get picked on or whatever. You just had to fight for it. And so when I saw wrestling, that was my thing, you know, because you see the
yeah.
interviews, you know,
That's
you see
true.
the guys come out and they're like, you know, I'm Bob Backlund, I'm gonna la 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 la, and then Bob Backlund comes out and he'd be like, well, you know, we're just gonna have a tough fight and we're just gonna see who the best man win. And then you go, then I watch Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes, you know,
Yeah,
and Ric Flair, oh, you know, Dusty Rhodes, you know, I'm gonna come out there and I'm gonna blah blah blah, and Dusty Rhodes, well, come on, bring it on, you know. So it was like those were like my people that I watched as idols, and I said, okay, I want to be like that. I want to
mhm,
be, you know, I want to stand up for myself. You know, I want to be that Dusty Rhodes. I want to be that Ricky Steamboat. You know what I mean? And fight back to the bullies in school or either my cousins or whatever. So that's what
yeah.
propelled me to get into, you know, working out and stuff like that.
Oh, so I can relate to that. Your point that you don't want to stand for yourself and just keep fighting. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I remember when the time I see guys like Batista, John Cena, The Undertaker, and all those guys, that made me realize that I want to say. I was like, hey, I think I want to be a wrestler too, and I just want to fight.
Yeah,
So
that's it. Yeah, you know, you that's what most of us are. You know, we're marks. We call us, you know,
yeah,
a lot of the wrestlers say you're marked, but we're all marks. We're marks of each other.
yeah,
And the thing is, if you see that, and you know, you don't want to go out and start a fight. Even the heels, they don't do that. They don't just go out. That's just their persona on television. But
yeah,
no one actually really goes. You got to be seriously insane to just go out and just start a fight with anyone on the street because you don't know what could happen. So, but the thing is, we're all marked, and
Hmm.
every wrestler that you see on television have seen other wrestlers, and so they also wanted to be whatever the wrestler or be that hero, super villain,
Yeah.
and so it just trickles down, man, and when kids watch wrestling now or people watch wrestling now, it's the same thing,
Yeah.
they get motivated. Some get motivated, some, just like, oh, I want to do it, but I don't know how or whatever. So yeah.
That's the word that I'm looking for, which is motivation. So I
Mm.
agree with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So, do you still remember your first wrestling memory?
My first wrestling match.
Yeah. Or yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It was I didn't get started in wrestling until I was 27, but back in 1990, I was about 19 years old. So I tried out for wrestling for the first time in Paulsboro, New Jersey.
Okay.
Uh, where Larry Sharp, the great Larry Sharp, he was the owner, the Monster Factory, and I think Satanka came out of that school and a couple other guys. But
Oh.
I went out and I tried out for it for one day. Didn't have the money, so I went back. And that was 1990. I didn't go back into the ring or see wrestling until about 1996, 97, when I tried out for WCW, the Power Plant. And I was just talking to, like I said, I was just talking to WCW legendary Kiwi last week.
Okay.
And I went down to the Power Plant in 96, 97 ish. And I think he went down in 98 or something like that. But anyway, uh, and that's when I tried out. And I tried out, made that cut. Still didn't have the money because it takes like $3,000 to $4,000 to go to school. So I came back to North Carolina, trained under C.W. Anderson, and I didn't get my first start. The actual first match that I had, it was like outdoor. It was like an outdoor um, wrestling match at where they were selling mobile homes. And at that
Oh.
time, yeah, at that time, CW was already ECW. So another professional wrestler came in and started teaching us. His name was Gary Simone. He's still living. His name is Gary Simone. So the Mad Trucker, if you see me, hello. But he was the one who he had a match. He actually had a match. They didn't have enough wrestlers, and so he told me. He said, "Hey, I need you to put on these boots." They were actually his old boots. They were red boots, and I had those boots for a long time. They were red with a star, um, and some trunks, and that was it. And that was the first time I went into like a battle royal or something like that. And I didn't
Okay.
know much. I was still green, and oh man, it was fun. It was I'll never forget it. It was fun, and but yeah, that was the first time I went to the ring.
That's an interesting start. That is an
Yeah,
interesting start. So yeah.
yeah,
Okay. So let's talk about your ECW days because everyone knows you that you are from ECW. You've had an opportunity to work work with some of the familiar names like Rhino, Jiri, and also Taz. Those guys in ECW back in the day. So
yeah.
how would you
Mhm.
describe your overall experience competing in an international promotion, specifically in ECW?
Well, when I got into ECW, well, first of all, I didn't wrestle with Taz. Taz was already out or going out to
Oh,
him
okay.
and the Dudleys. They were already out when I went in. I was in ECW the last year of their existence. So the original, not the WWE ECW.
Okay,
But
okay.
yeah, I was lucky enough to be on the ring crew and wrestle at the same time. So yeah, I wrestled, Rhino quite a bit, the
Oh,
Baldies, Tony Mamalu, Guido, Red Dog. So yeah, I learned a lot from these guys. Tagging with balls. Sometimes being in the ring and having New Jack come in and help, and save me, or being in the ring and have Sandman come in and save me, being in the ring and have Raven come in and save me. So it was, man, hey, it was a dream come true. I was actually, in the ring and being on TV, pay-per-view. That's what everybody wants. I mean, of course,
Yeah.
if you continue it, you want belts, you want to be more and more famous. But I'm happy enough, and I'm content at what I've done, and just being a part of ECW the last year. I can say that I'm a original. When I die, that's what they're gonna say. Chilly Willy was an original from ECW. So that'll live forever. You know what I mean? Because people still chant ECW. You know what I mean? When they see Paul Heyman, when they see some guys from ECW is still a big. We've been out of business. They've been out of business almost 20-something years, and they still resonate now. You know what I mean? So I'm just glad to be a part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's good to hear. And so we will proceed first to the fan questions. So our
Mhm.
first fan question is from Audrey Bernice Chu. Your question is, what was your life lesson being in ECW?
My life lesson.
Yes.
Um, don't take anything for granted. In wrestling, you have to, depending on what promoter who you work for, the lesson is not to believe everything. You have to see through the bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they promise you this, if they promise you, I'm gonna give you this, you have to just take it with a grain of salt and just say, hey, you know, um, I'm doing this because I love it. Of course, you don't want to do it for free. Whenever you hit the curtain, you don't do wrestling for free. But unless you become like you've already been there, like a star or whatever, then you just like come down and you just want to hang out or whatever. But if you're just starting out, my thing is, my life lesson for wrestlers is don't uh wrestle for free. You know what I mean? Get something, because it's like working. You know what I mean? It's like doing anything else. You're not just gonna go work for free, are you? You know what I mean? So you have to look at yourself as a professional and carry yourself that way. And so the life lesson is always uh, don't take, like I said, what a lot of your promoters or whatever will tell you with a grain of salt, because you don't. It's kind of a weird thing, It's kind of hard to trust them or whatever. But if they say they're gonna get you this and they're gonna give you that before you go in there and wrestle, that's what you expect. You know what I mean? So always try to clarify that before you accept a booking, or you say, okay, I'm going to wrestle for such and such, even if it's just doing a run in, even if you're refereeing, especially if you're refereeing, even
Mhm.
if you doing your like you're in a battle royal and you're there for like 3 or 4 minutes, 5 minutes, you still expect to get paid.
Yeah,
So that's a life lesson that I've learned in pro wrestling.
that's good. So our next fan question is from Ausvin King. His question is, what else do you do to support yourself for being a wrestler?
What else do I do to support myself for
Yeah,
being a wrestler?
yeah,
Do you mean like when I was a wrestler, what did I
yeah.
do?
Like during your career.
Ah, I quit so many jobs, man. I
Oh,
was chasing the dream. I was chasing it. So you really have to be smart. That's what I said, and it goes back to the last question. You really have to be, if you're gonna do this thing, you have to make sure that you're getting paid enough to support
mm,
and I was luckily enough to, like I said, I worked in a ring crew and I wrestled, so I was getting paid twice. I wasn't on contract in ECW. I was just getting paid twice, and so the little money that I was making, it was just enough. It was squeezing by, man, just enough to get by. Um, do I recommend that for anyone now? No. I would say you have to have a shoot job, meaning you have to have a real job. And then if you have time to wrestle on the side, do that. I would tell my students there, you know, AOW. I want to say AEW, but AOW, because you know when I was training them, I said, hey, if you're in school, if you're in college, stay in college, man. College come first. Get your education, get your degree, find a job, and let wrestling be a hobby first. Do not quit your job, you know, to do this wrestling. The only time you do that if you are under contract, you know, you're under contract with, you know, AEW, WWE, Impact Wrestling, whatever, New Japan
Yeah.
Wrestling, wherever, you know, but you have to be on contract because if you're not, there's no way. And here in the Philippines, because wrestling is not a scene yet, it's not really, it's not blowing up yet. You cannot. There's no way that you can just wrestle and say that that's going to feed your family. No way. You would die. You would starve to death. So you have to have a job and be smart and you know things like that. So and that's why I say you always get paid when you wrestle. You don't do it for free. Do not do it for free. You know what I mean? You can't afford to. You cannot afford to. I don't care what the promoter say, and if that's stunting your growth, and you can't say, and they won't let you wrestle. Then you try to find another promotion to work for, or start your own promotion, or whatever. I don't know, but it's hard enough trying to get money to feed your family on a real job, and then now
That's true.
you want to wrestle, and it's like a hobby. It's a hobby at first. It's not a. You're not on a contract unless you move out to different countries, and until the Philippines have a solid wrestling company that's making money on television with contracts, bro, you better keep your job. Keep your day job.
That's inspiring. So thank you for those, advice, and also your advice, or also for those who are dreaming to become wrestlers someday. So um so you're here in the Philippines for like a few years now, and you've been teaching, you've been training with local wrestlers. So what made you decide to share knowledge in wrestling, aspiring wrestlers, especially to here in the Philippines?
Well, when I first came here back in 2015, I've been here 6 years, almost seven. I went to the show in MCS, and so I
Mm,
saw uh, um, PWR. They had a
yeah.
big show, man. I mean, like 600 people or something. And in America, you know, if you do an independent show like that, if you're gonna have 600 people or something, you gotta have a name on your show. You gotta have a big name, you know. And so I was like, yo, it's crazy because I've never seen this before. Here, you know, I'm in a different country and I see all these people, I see all the media, and so I was really impressed when I sat down and I was waiting for the show, and I was like, oh man, this is gonna be awesome, you know, there's so many people. But then when they started coming out to wrestle, I said, whoa, wait a minute. You know, they were not schooled, they were not trained properly. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
so because and they admitted they were learning themselves on how to wrestle themselves, which is
Yeah.
fine, which is good. But I said, wow, I was still impressed because these are untrained wrestlers, performers who gather this many people to see them. And so that made me want to inquire how can I help give my knowledge to them, you know, and so yeah, that's how I kind of got involved, you know, going. I was invited by some of the guys, BWR guys, and I went to their training or whatever. Just showed them a couple of things, and then they just picked up some things, and then they picked things up on their own, and also other people, not just me. And so, and if you like before the pandemic, I mean, they have came a long way from the 2015 or 16, whatever year it was that they did the show at MCS, and they have gotten much better. Not just them, but MWF, you know. And so I was really excited that you know guys were and the girls were coming along and getting better. You know what I mean? They still had a lot of training things that they need to learn, a lot of etiquette they need to learn because if they ever went to like the U.S. or any other, they were probably people would be like, "Who trained you? Whatever, what happened?" You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, but for what it's worth here now, they're doing really well, and yeah, that's kind of how. And then I was invited to train some people like Brian Leo, Machine, and all those guys. They formed their own
Okay.
company or whatever, and so they wanted me to help out there, and so that's what I started doing there. So I trained about 20 people, 25 people.
Mm,
So and then just doing our thing there, and if only the other stuff outside of the wrestling would have they all came together would made it much better. But it's like family. You know what I mean?
yeah.
You have your problems and you have your issues, but still, it's a family because it's still a wrestling scene.
Yeah.
And so no matter what the bickering is from this company, this company, this company, it's still Philippine wrestling. And when other people come in internationally, come into the Philippines, you
Mm,
know, they don't want to hear all that shit. They just want to know who's the best wrestler, who's good wrestlers here and there.
yeah.
So, and that's what you want. You want to kind of you can have your own company, like you. You can have your own company. You have your own podcast or whatever. I have my podcast, but still, we have podcasts here in the Philippines, and that's the
Yeah.
thing. So, if if they can just get that together and come together and make the Philippine wrestling scene huge, then because there's a market here. You guys had it before back in the 80s. You had
Mm,
wrestling, you had it on television or whatever. And
mm,
people know about it. To Jerry, guys, and there's a lot of guys who've been here. Jeff Cobb, you name it. So it's not just there's a market here. There's a market here in the
yeah.
Philippines for pro wrestling, Southeast Asia, not just Singapore, not just Japan, not just Vietnam, not just China, right here in the Philippines. And if after this pandemic, man, I pray that the Philippine wrestlers here blow this country up, man, with wrestling. You know what I
I
mean?
agree.
Because it should be done. And
Yeah.
just do it right and make sure that your basic is down pat. That way, when
Mm,
people come in out of from the international world, they they won't mind wrestling with you because if you don't know how to wrestle, there's only certain guys or girls that can do it. A lot of international people don't want to wrestle with me, because they
mm,
think that you might hurt them, or you might make the match look bad. So
mm,
it would behoove every wrestler here in the Philippines to learn the basic first, and then you start doing all the whoopity whoop stuff, the flips and all that and all. But if you don't know the basic first, it's going to be very hard to get people to work with you, because you'll be unsafe, you know.
yeah.
Um, and I know people want to do all that high flying stuff, but the guys that and the girls who do that stuff, they've been wrestling for 15, 20 years. They've
Mm,
been doing this stuff. So it's the same thing here in the Philippines. And I'm just saying, man, the Philippines is a market. It's a huge market. I think Rikishi, um, before the pandemic, they were
yeah.
thinking of coming here.
I've heard.
They
I've
see,
heard that actually. Yeah.
yeah. hmm I actually sat down with one of the boxing promoters, the older guy. I don't know his name. I forget the name now. But and talked to him about that. And the thing was, if the pandemic didn't come, they were coming here.
Mm,
They were coming here to set up, and these are
yeah.
Samoans, you know what I mean? So
Mm,
they hit hard, they hit very hard, and they're big guys. So, um, that's another thing. But the Philippine wrestlers here, I pray that they are studying while this pandemic is going on. You can still study on
mm,
YouTube. You can still, do some burpees, training, sit ups, push ups, or whatever. Keep yourself in shape a little bit. And
yeah.
so I just hope and pray that you know it blows up. You know what I mean? It gets better.
That's true.
So
I agree what you said that no, ever since the pandemic started, it just ruined everything. PWR
yeah,
shows canceled, MW shows got
Yeah.
canceled. I mean, it sucks, man.
Yeah.
Um, uh, no, they are very creative that they just interact with fans by using a podcast.
Mhm.
Podcasts like the Wrestling podcast, and even though the PWR podcast and also your podcast,
Right. Yeah.
it is also a way to entertain the fans. Even we're still in the pandemic, and wrestling shows are still canceled until this day. Okay.
Yep.
So, wrestling really means a lot to the Philippines. So for you, how would you describe Filipino wrestling fans?
I'm a Filipino wrestling fan. Yeah, I think they're very energetic into the product. That's why I say the product of wrestling. When you put it out there, it has to look good and look like what you see on television, kind of. You know what I mean? I know it's not going to be as polished because the Filipino fans here, they have a tendency here, I think, to mock the wrestlers, right? So if a wrestler come out and he's considered a big brawler, or versus a guy who's small, who tries to be like the high flyer, but
Mhm.
he can't actually do the high flying. Then the Philippine crowd will shit on him. You know what I mean? And it's I mean that would happen also in America. Uh, but I think the Filipino fans here are more comical than actually they are more raw to the wrestlers. Like in America, they'll tell you effed up, or you can't wrestle, something like that. But here, in America, and also if you hear that, it makes you think, wow, I really suck. I really, dang, I messed up. You go in
Yeah.
the back and you'd be like, man. But here, it's more like um, they'll laugh at you, kind of like,
Mm.
and then I think the wrestlers don't really take it serious from what I've seen. Like, so they kind of they kind of take it like also as a jokingly way, when in fact they should take it as, wow, they're really shitting on my gimmick. You know what I mean? So it's like, I should, next time I come out here, I should be better. I should be dressed better. I should look better. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because if not, then these set of fans are going to laugh at me, or they're going to make fun of me. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's kind of like that. So I take it, but I think the fans here are supported very well. They support the wrestlers very well. Even if the wrestling's not that good, they will support. They will come out and really support, and then they get behind the wrestlers. They're fans that I've seen that get behind certain wrestlers and really like what they do, and they're their fans. So that's a good thing that I've seen from the fans here. But they will clown you here. Yeah, because what happened was I tried to wrestle once here in under the Blackzilla. I wanted to wrestle. I
Oh,
thought I
yeah.
was good, but I went in and I got hurt the first two moves with Billy Swade, and I heard the crowd go, "What just happened?" So the good thing I was under a mask, because I was like, "Oh my god, I came in here and I stunk up the place." And that's another thing. When you get a certain age,
Mhm.
don't you think you can do what you do, but you really have to train before you get in there. I didn't really train before I got in there. It took me a while to get back in there, and I got back in there with Mr. Lucha a couple of times, and
Oh,
it was much better.
from
But the first time,
MWF.
like, yeah, yeah, but the first match that I had, oh my god. But the crowd wasn't that bad. They were. And so that's the thing, because the Filipino people, I think, are very caring people, and so even if you mess up, they're not gonna really totally shit on you, but they will clown you. They will laugh a little bit. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So
Yeah, I agree. What I was about to say was, I remembered when I guested Rain Cruz here, when I asked her this question that, what are her thoughts when the crowd is already back during during this time, WWE and AEW, it's already normal. She said that she has a point that wrestlers can also react the reaction of the fans, and
Yeah.
it reminds me of the answer that your answer. It reminds me of that answer. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, okay. So what inspired you to be a wrestler?
What inspired me? Just not wanting to be bullied. You know what I mean? Not wanting to get my ass kicked every day. You know what I mean? So that inspired me a lot to be a wrestler. Like I said earlier, just wanted to be a fighter. You know what I mean? And back then we didn't have UFC. There was no
Oh,
UFC back when I was coming up. If it was, I probably would have did UFC also. But you know, just that was the closest thing to combat sport. You know, you had
mhm.
kickboxing, you had point fighting, karate, and all that. But I wanted to actually get in there and just something about wrestling on television. It was like, oh, I want to do that. So just seeing it, it inspired me, man. It's just the good versus the evil. It's what I'm all about.
That's good. So, okay, so really, the last question before we wrap things up. I
Okay.
guess everyone, especially aspiring wrestlers that they want to know about this. What is your advice for them?
Um, like I said, now because of the pandemic, the only thing that you can do if you're just sitting at home is just, I mean, really just dog out the YouTube of wrestling.
Yeah.
Whatever you can find on wrestling, training moves or whatever, just watch it. And then when you watch wrestling, if you're not a wrestler, it's gonna it's not gonna resonate right now. But if you have
Yeah.
actually been in there, you train, you wrestle, you've been on shows, you know what to expect. You know what the do's and the do's and don'ts are. So when you watch wrestling, it's not you should not be watching wrestling as like, oh, this is so great. You should be watching wrestling as putting yourself in that same position. That way, when it's time for you to get in there, you kind of would know what not to do and what to do. And just try to keep yourself in shape. I know it's hard, but you can you can still do it. Even if you don't join a gym, uh, you just push ups, sit ups, squats,
Mhm.
burpees. Right there in your sala, right there in your bedroom or studio, man. You just if you're watching something on television, at doing commercials. There's a lot of commercials here in the Philippines.
Yeah.
You can just drop down, do 10 push-ups, boom, 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 get right back up, sit down, watch TV. You can get up, next commercial, do 10, 20 squats. So you got to keep yourself, in shape so that when the time comes, you will be somewhat ready for to get back into the ring. For those who've never been in the ring and want to get in the ring, the only thing I can tell you now is you just have to wait until the doors open back up. The pandemic is kind of like over a little bit, and once training starts, or people can move around, move about, get connected to some of these organizations, PWR, WUW, uh, MWF. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And
Yeah.
try to connect with those people who are in charge, so that when the doors open back up, you can get in there for a tryout. That's the best thing I can tell you on that one. But definitely keep yourself in shape, watch videos, and keep a job. Keep a job so that you have money, so that you can buy yourself the wrestling gear,
Mm-hmm.
because wrestling is not cheap. You have to pay for your boots, or your shoes and your elbow pads, your knee pads,
Yeah. I
your
agree.
yeah, your costume, whatever,
Mm.
your gimmick. So those are the things that wrestlers now should be doing. And then those who want to be wrestlers, you just have to wait and contact as many people as you can to try to get a training, to try to get in for a workout. You know what I mean? Try that's the one for tryouts.
Yeah, that's an inspiring advice right there. So, Chili Willy, before we end, do you have anything to promote and also your social media so everyone can
Uh,
follow you?
no, just you can follow me on Instagram. I'm not really big follower. 2469 Chilly Willy. My Facebook is William Chilly Willy Jones. And I think that's Twitter, but I'm not really on Twitter. But I think that's about it. You know, I'm not hard to find.
Okay.
Mostly on Facebook, and I search Instagram. I don't really do too much on Instagram. I might post something on Instagram, but most of the time it's just Facebook. Well, Meta now. It's going to be called Meta, not Facebook. Meta.
Yeah.
So we got to get used to that.
All right. So, you can follow me also on social media, Twitter and Instagram. It's at Diego_Prime. Chili Willy, thank you so much, and
Thank
we
you,
hope to see you
Diego.
soon.
Yes,
This
you
is
too, man. You guys be safe.
stay safe too. So this is Diego Prime, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.